we're kind of reflecting on a lot of the ways in which our marriage went bad for no other reason than each one of us possessed like an inner narrative of either the way we should show up in our marriage, ways we should protect it, even if those protections actually weren't very good, they were very misguided. And the way those inner narratives they felt so rigid. They felt unbreakable. It felt like being in a prison. And what we didn't realize at the time was that those things that were in our mind guiding our decision making to terrible ends really were prisons where the door was unlocked. Like we needed was to change our mindset. So one of the things we were just talking about, I have a video that's going viral right now on TikTok about how I came to our relationship with the skill of being able to meet a need that I didn't have, or being able to meet a request I didn't understand. If I could see that the person I was in community with or a person that I loved had a need or even an interest or a want, and I was capable of fulfilling that need, it was in my capacity, I would happily or joyfully meet it. Like I didn't need that person to explain it. I didn't need them to justify it. I didn't need to understand that desire myself necessarily.
That's right.
I didn't need all of that in order to meet them in their status.
Yeah.
But you didn't come to our relationship with that same outlook.
No.
Or that same relational skill of being able to meet a need you didn't understand.
I did not.
Yeah. So I had to eventually in our relationship, like if I were to come to him and make a request, he had a style of working something out that I would say was a little bit more
combative.
Yeah, combative. Like it was almost like you thought, and it wasn't ill-willed entirely. You almost thought like, oh, this is a discussion. I'm going to win it. I'm competitive. I'm going to win it. Or if I make fair. Good points here, then I've won the match.
In a competition with your significant other, that wouldn't be fair to summarize how I thought of it. I'm woefully unpracticed at this. I don't actually know how to come to a mutual decision with somebody else. I was the kid who, I think for some control freak issues and a really high standard, never chose the group project if there was an individual option. I just didn't want to deal with somebody else, and that lack of practice contributed. So I really did want to work things out with you on big and little things. The problem was that I didn't know how. Internally, I would debate pros and cons lists. So I was wanting to use your ideas and my ideas as foils that would kind of sharpen them until a idea emerged. Not understanding that oftentimes you'd already given thought to this particular problem and solution for maybe days, weeks, months. I don't even know, maybe years sometimes.
Sometimes.
Like, so you already were coming with the solution and saying, I've got the solution. And I just thought we were like brainstorming as if it was like minute number 1 on a new problem. I thought that pushback was how to engage.
It's weird because even though you're saying that, almost every way in which this showed up was incredibly self-seeking. Like at the end, you would almost always want the solution that served you most.
What you're saying, though, I want to acknowledge. I think there's a part of me that did not truly know how to let go. Like if I say yes to this idea and I haven't even given it thought, what does that say about me? Well, it turns out it would have said, I trust somebody I love.
That's what it would have said.
That's what it would have said.
What does it say about me?
I didn't sit in that long
enough. It says
enough.
I'm in a meaningful, committed relationship.
Yeah, but I mean, the Gottmans talk a lot about influence being a huge aspect of relationship. And ironically, sadly, tragically, so much of what it means to learn to be a man is to not accept influence.
Yeah.
Right? So they're at odds. Like my practice and skills weren't there.
Well, from particular places in society. Because there's a hierarchy of desirable traits and qualities.
Sure.
And ones that are less desirable. Most of the desirable qualities for the longest time, and even currently I would say, are like male qualities. Yeah. Especially if you're a man, you shouldn't dare try to emulate anything female.
Oh, sure.
So
that's a good point.
To accept influence meant that like I'm allowed to accept influence from all these places I consider in the hierarchy that are above me.
Yes.
But I can't dare accept influence from something I consider to be less.
That's absolutely true. And I don't think I consciously thought of that, but that is 100% was running in the background, right? Like,
which is why the Gottmans, which if you don't know, it's like probably the leading data collecting researchers on the nature of marriage, what leads to healthy marriages, what leads to marriages failing. And particularly this one, accepting your partner's influence, I think is one of their top 6 or top 10 abilities that people have to have in order to survive a successful marriage. And the research shows that men struggle with this. Like 3 out of every 10 women will struggle with this, but it's like 9 out of every 10 men will struggle with this. It's a common thing, but I don't think actually it's who men are.
I don't think so.
I feel like it's like an orca swimming in a tank. Like if you'd only ever seen an orca in a tank, you would think that all orcas had that like fin that's like this.
Dorsal fin,
yeah. But like men are swimming in the tank of misogyny. So like I can't possibly accept influence from the thing whether or not I've acknowledged it, whether or not I even realize it, I consider this to be weaker than me. How will I accept its influence if it's not?
Oh, and the threat to that, right? Because I
Yeah.
think gender is a performance. So if in the performance I'm supposed to have the answers and I don't, but then somebody else comes along who have been told is weaker and has the answers, I must not be doing my job right.